My paths are paved with pain. How, midnight, did you find my dawn? I don't want my day to bow to you, O night. O night, what dark hand hiding? Will some good thing spill from you for me? Now in prayer I had a sense inside me that the Lord said, rawness can heal and rawness can destroy. I suppose it's which side we pick to work for us. When we feel hurt or injured, touching deep things inside us, being vulnerable and raw, it is right there that there is potency, especially when we bring ourselves in this state to our great healer. In the converse is also potency, an alchemy that we can conjure up to work against ourselves, dark masochistic magic. When we are in pain we must find lovely places in our mind. There is something else I wonder about this morning, as a beginner whose assumption is greater than his knowledge. It is the spiritual concept of beasts or a beast. Apparently, we read in the Bible, there are several beasts that spring up here and there. The false prophet is a beast, and then there is the first beast, and Alexander the Great was seen or shown as a beast, the leopards, and the ram. I don't think the beasts are simply a tidy symbol for something else. Perhaps it is a symbol and at the same time an actual type of entity whose state of existence is so abstract or foreign that we can quite comprehend. Why call the false prophet, for instance, a beast if it is merely a human, and if we are eager to call the effect of someone something, why not call it something else? It is called a beast because in the spiritual worlds it has exactly the shape of a beast, something like an animal. But more to the point, I wonder if there are lesser or minor beasts we deal with, each one of us, something close to the idea of a familiar spirit which had taken residency inside the world of our mind, and yet our private beast is not a familiar spirit. The strange thing is that we form the beast, just as our collective consciousness will probably induce the second beast, or so-called false prophet which deceives the nations. Our minds can create entities and beings. I think the familiar spirits are not demons in the ordinary sense, and if we are overly particular about the definition of what constitutes the demon species, then we should be careful that we don't have a familiar spirit who lives in being right, our need and pride to be right about things. Familiar spirits conflate with our true self as us, camouflage in familiar feelings, our notable sense of ourselves, an aspect of our personality which we feel is ingrained, may not be us after all. It is the familiar spirit which camouflages in that familiar feeling. Now I heard something interesting that Ian Clayton had said, as much as I recall or understand, that familiar spirits are interested in information. From my end there are two levels of understanding here. The first is merely overcuriosity into the lives of others, but the second, to me, is more important. It is an exchange of information, the need to exchange information, inside our own minds, that is, we are having a dialogue inside our mind. Imaginary scenarios that we have to explain, in language in our mind to imaginary people in whatever scenario we come up with, over and over and over. Though the habit is simply us, the instigator is a familiar spirit. Now the information itself is of no importance. It does not matter what information is traded, it is the act of the trade that feeds the familiar spirit. From my limited perception, the familiar spirits look something like an elongated seal, a marine or fish creature, but more elongated like a transparent filament, something fishy. They are transparent to a point. Now the injured human is vulnerable to keep the injury, inferiority, or some other character compensation, and then defend themselves in their own mind through internal dialogue or justification. The familiar spirit is not interested in the actual justification, it is interested in the defensive posture and behavior. It is because when we daily defend ourselves, in our mind to imaginary others, then we are not in the place of fullness and stillness of self. We have spilled out, we have spread out part of ourselves in an attempt to save our injury, we have become uncollected. The way to get rid of the familiar spirits is to turn to the Lord in our raw state, our vulnerability, to believe the new knowledge of our true being in the face of the Lord Jesus, to practice deep stillness of mind, to find places in our mind and heart where only we are, and no one else, except the Lord. No one else in our mind. Now returning to the beasts or private beast, I think the beast forms when the familiar spirit rules and lives our lives as us, but when the familiar spirit is gone the beast, which had tossed and gored us in life, will also dissipate. Could it be possible that most personalities of most humans on earth, and most of the living of living people, have been lived by the familiar spirits all along.